What's up, guys? Dr. Seth back to help you solve your powerlifting problems. As a coach, I have the opportunity to see a lot of lifters in very, very, very different stages of their training career. And the more lifters that I've worked with, kind of the more that I've noticed that the very good ones, not only do they have a relatively solid understanding of training, but their thought process surrounding training tends to be very, very advanced. The relatively new lifters, they might be lacking in understanding of training, but what they really do seem to lack more of is their actual understanding of the process and their understanding of, how the wheels spin and how intricate things can be and how to time things, how to push things, how to move things around to fit where they are in their training career. And thinking back on my own lifting, thinking back on where I've come from, I had some very distinct phases of training and very distinct roadblocks that came with each phase. And coming to back to the very beginning, when I first started powerlifting, it was after 14 years of pushing motocross as hard as I knew how to push it. And at the end of my motocross career, I was extremely burnt out from the sport because for the last, 3-4 seasons I raced, I didn't get all that much better. I just tried harder and harder and harder and just slammed into both literal and metaphorical walls over and over and over again and just kept catching worse and worse injuries, kept breaking more shit, kept getting more frustrated, kept having more things go wrong, essentially, until I eventually was just like, screw this is not worth the effort, and I stopped racing. I quit. I did not want to do it anymore, so I stopped. And it was a little bit after that my shoulder surgeon actually encouraged me to start going to the gym, which eventually rolled into powerlifting. Now, when I first started training with the intent of getting stronger, when I first found powerlifting, I was like, holy shit, this is freaking amazing. The harder I try, the better I do. The more I do, the more I get out of it. And after having that 3-4 year stint in motocross where it seemed like the harder I tried, the less I got, the more I got beat back down, the more I just got shoved into the ground, I was like, this is freaking amazing. I'm finally rewarded for my effort. I'm finally getting what I deserve out of a sport. And I fell in love because of that. And I think that is a trap that a lot of new lifters fall into because right at the beginning of powerlifting, all you really need to do to get better is try. And you learn that the harder you try, the more you can get. You learn that by doing more, you get more. And the shitty reality is that doesn't last forever. And it got to the point where about 4 years into powerlifting, I was at the exact same wall that I hit in motocross. I was at the wall where it's the harder I tried, the more I got hurt. The harder I pushed, the more I got hurt. The harder I trained, the more fatigued I got, the more I felt like I was literally going to die. And I was just like, oh no, this is the exact same thing all over again. But because it was the same thing all over again, I kind of was like, I don't want to quit powerlifting. I don't know what else I'm going to do. I don't want to find anything else. And that got me thinking, that got me looking, that got me talking to more people. And the writing was right in front of me the whole time because the entire phase through that where I was doing more, trying harder, going, everyone was like, you don't got to push that hard. You don't got to do that. You don't got to be full send all the time. You don't have to hit nose torque for every single lift, every single set. And the first lesson to progress your understanding that you need to learn as a lifter is that yes, you need to learn to try hard. The second lesson, the next lesson, is that you need to learn how hard to try. Because going full send all the time, it eventually runs out. The law of diminishing returns hits, and you can't go further just by trying harder. You need to learn to control how much you try based on where you are. And there will be... And what I mean by that is, depending on where you are in meet prep season, depending on where you are in the grand scheme of things, sometimes you need more effort, sometimes you need less. Sometimes when you've put in a lot of effort, you need less to recover from that effort you put in. Sometimes, if you've been putting in not enough effort, it can be to your favor because then you can get more out of less effort as you ramp back up. So it's kind of this mixed up thing where you need to learn how hard to try. You need to learn how hard to try based on the circumstances, based on where you are, to actually drive progress. And I probably confused the fuck out of a lot of you there, but it is the next step. Once you have learned to try hard, it's just learning to tweak how hard you're trying based on where you are in prep, based on where you are in your career, based on where you are in the week, based on where you are in space-time. And that is the next thing that I needed to learn. And after that, I did make good progress again. I ended up hitting 2K raw, I hit a multiply PR, and things were cruising. And the next wall that I hit wasn't as hard. It wasn't just a friggin' faceplant into a brick wall with, knee blowing off, spine exploding type stuff. It was a more subtle wall where I would have meets that I just really didn't get that much better. I would have meets where I caught a lot of little dings. I would have meets where it just didn't work the way that I thought it would work based on what I was doing. And the next thing that I had to learn after learning how hard to try, it was learning where to try. And what I mean by that was that, instead of just distributing effort or changing my effort on everything, it was, okay, right now, I need to try less hard on the heavy stuff. I need to try more hard on the little stuff. I need to try more hard on my accessories. I need to try more hard on my base building far away from meat. As the meet progresses, it's like I need to shift away from trying on the accessories and shift more towards putting in harder effort, more efficient effort on my main movements. And that little bit of learning to distribute effort, learning where to try, learning to place effort, not only in the gym, but outside of the gym as well, I need to start trying better on my dieting. I need to start trying better on my GPP. I need to start trying better on my movement prep. Learning to distribute that effort in addition to trying the right amount, that got me over that next hurdle. That got me another step further. That got me, another 100 pounds on my total. I totaled 2,100. And after that, I was cruising. I was rolling. I had a really, really, really decent year as a 242. I dropped down in body weight during COVID just because without a ton of meets, I didn't have a lot to work towards training wise. So instead of just being a big fat guy for that entire duration, I decided to drop down, and I am stoked with the string of meets that I had at 242. Each one I got better, each one I learned something, each one I improved, and I thought holy shit, I might finally have this figured out. And then last October, I had the meet where, as most of you know, my taint blew off. I ripped off my adductor longus, my adductor brevis, my pectineus, and my rectus abdominis ripped up, and that really, really friggin' sucked. And looking back, it's there are a lot of things that I could have done differently to have prevented that. Number one was not have a friggin' hurricane hit Florida and totally disrupt the meat prep. But number two was realizing that I had been full cork for 5 months in a 10-month period, or 5 meets in a 10-month period. I had been kind of just pushing and chipping and chipping and chipping, and I thought that because I was doing the right amount of prep work, because I was doing managing training very well, I thought I was going to be invincible. And reality was that maybe I should have just pulled back. Maybe I shouldn't have stretched out for that 5th meet. Maybe I should have changed not only how hard I was trying, not only where I was trying, but also when I was trying in the yearly scheme of things. And that's kind of when it hit me. It's I've heard Dave Tate talk about the importance of annual planning for years. I've heard him talk about quadrennials for years. I've heard Ryan Selk tell me very, very similar things about how not every meet needs to be the insane meet. And that's kind of when it finally hit me that not only is it, again, the how hard I try, where I try, it is when I really try and when I distribute things through an annual plan, through a quadrennial plan, to be strong when it friggin' matters. And right now, people are like looking at this prep I'm having. People are watching this prep and they're going, where the hell is this coming from? And I think that what people aren't realizing in the grand scheme of things is that when I was saying that the meet I did this spring in sleeves was a warm-up meet for shell shock, I meant that it was a warm-up meet for shell shock. I meant that I wasn't pushing full cork on everything. I meant that I was trying to build my base up. I meant that I wasn't going to taper super hard because I wanted shell shock to be better. And that, I think, was the missing piece of the puzzle to get to the prep that I'm having now. Now, obviously, this prep hasn't totally panned out yet. I'm not there. I'm only kind of midway into the what I call the shitty part of prep, where things are very, very, very strenuous, but it's working. Like squats, all-time strong. Bench, all-time strong. Deadlifts, all-time strong. And physically, mentally, I feel pretty damn okay for where I am in the meet prep at 7 weeks out. And it's like, what I want you guys to kind of recognize along your journey is I want you to look at the roadblocks that you're hitting. I want you to look at the strategy that you're using in terms of how you are processing training, how you're putting effort in, and I want you to think about, how could I do this better? How could I strategize this better? Are you still at the spot where you can just try harder and get more out of it? And if that's the case, just worry about learning to try hard. If you've ran out of trying hard, if you can't try any harder and you've been stuck for what feels like forever, think about, okay, let's find the best amount to try. And once you are trying what you feel like is as close to the right amount as you can, and things stall out again, think about, okay, where am I putting in effort? Where could I put in effort better? Where could I put in effort more efficiently? And that should bump you along again. It's like, once you're at that point, then you can start to think about strategizing where you're going to place effort throughout the year to prioritize certain meets, certain phases over others. Because once you get to a certain point in powerlifting, it's very, very, very hard to be on all of the time. I've learned that the hard way many, many times along the career. And the best thing I've done is like what I kind of did this year, where I just decided that like it's okay to not be 100% absolutely peaked if it is building up into that peak later on in the year. And it becomes this matter of not so much worrying about my performance this day, not so much worrying about my performance this week, but more worrying about how do I schedule this day in my overall processing? How do I schedule this week in order to build up to the week that I want to have way over here? How do I schedule this meet prep to build up to this meet, 3-4 meets down the road that I want to be the big meet? That's where you're going to be able to really finally reach those upper limits. And, when I hit a wall doing things this way, when I figure that wall out, I will have to make another video on the next stage of powerlifting. So guys, thank you for watching. Hopefully you got something out of that. Hopefully it wasn't just a big confusing ball of rambliness. Like, share, subscribe, because growing a channel doesn't happen without you guys, and I appreciate the hell out of everyone that has subscribed thus far. And as far as cool stuff in the pipeline, the training app, we are looking to officially launch that this Friday. As far as what it is basically an app with different programming tools that I use for different circumstances, for different strategies, for different lifter needs. I do have meet prep programs in there, I have off-season programs in there, and I have a shit ton of movement prep protocols as well in there for different body parts that you might be experiencing pain. Now, obviously, with it being app-based, it cannot diagnose shit. It's not intended to treat stuff, but it is intended to give you guys a start point where you can look to increase preparedness at a certain body part so that it can feel better. And something really, really, really neat that we are doing is for the first 10 people that hop on, if you aren't stoked with the programs that are available, if you don't think that they fit your needs, tell me and I can try to make something better for your needs. Because not only is that going to help you out, that's going to help someone else out that hops on the app with similar needs. So let me know so I can make the thing better. In addition to the actual programming app itself, what we also have is a Discord group set up with a bunch of additional resources in terms of like warm-ups, in terms of long form talking about different body parts, in terms of making them feel better. I have a bunch of different spots where you can post videos for form checks. I have a bunch of different spots where you can ask questions And I really just want to turn this into a place where not only I can provide some guidance, but you guys can start providing guidance for other people, and it keeps on building down. So hit the link below for access to that app. Officially launching Friday, but if anyone wants to hop on before then, I would be super stoked to have you. And yeah, another thing, for the first 20 people, we're gonna do giveaways at 20, 50, and 100. And for the first giveaway, for the first 20 people that hop on, you'll be entered in a draw for a barbell from Elite FTS of your choice. If you're from Canada, you're paying duty on that sucker, so that's not on me, but I will order the bar for you, send it to your house as a bonus for hopping on. For the first 20 people, you'll be entered in that draw. So let me know. Hop on if you want to hop on. If you don't, don't. But we'd appreciate you if you do. Have a great rest of your night, guys.